Hey, yo, what's poppin', man? Hope you guys have been doing great. I've been doing all right. Really tired, but we move. Okay, so in this video, where did I pull that up real quick? Okay, so in this video, we're going to be talking about this. So if you guys missed the previous video that I've uploaded, I've covered these cells over here. This cell, which is going to be the most important one, and this continuation. So these two cells are going to be the cells which, of course, I break down in the previous video, but I want you guys to focus on these two cells the most and not focus too much on this because this is way more advanced, okay? So yes, focus on these two. Boom, done. Now, in this video, what we're going to talk about, again, ignore this cell. These are all unconventional. These are all advanced, right? I want you guys to focus on what we've learned so far. Don't bother going too far ahead, okay? Because you have to understand, you can even see it in my lot size over here. Hold on, let me just make sure I'm recording all of this. Yes, it is recording when there's a red light, I've noticed. Okay, cool, interesting. Anyway, if you guys can already notice, this buy all the way at the bottom here didn't even have a big lot size. I couldn't hold a big lot size because the point of having high risk entries, right? The point of having high risk entries that touch trades, the point of them, there are only 2 points. One is you're trying to play intradays. The other point, the other reason you would want to do something like that is so that you can have the best entry, or excuse me, so that you can have an entry at the best price possible for your swing. So if you're an intraday player and you're seeing success playing off of confirmed areas or medium to low risk entries, if you're having success doing that, don't even, whenever I mention stuff about high risk entries or advanced entries, don't even bother about those. The whole point for you guys at this stage of the entire series is for you to start fine-tuning and refining everything you've learned and creating something for yourself. Okay? And over the coming months and years, you're going to develop something beautifully for yourself, and then you're going to be able to create advanced trades that maybe even I can't replicate. Okay? So in this video, let's come back to the point. What are we talking about in this video? In this video, we're going to talk about this entry, beautifully easy entry, and this guy right here. I have no idea how I entered this. I haven't actually checked the charts itself. I've just cleared it. I've clicked the remove zero drawings button and I've started this video. And the second thing we're going to cover is going to be this as well, the continuation cells. Going to be very, very important to talk about this as well. Okay, so yeah, pretty much that's it. So let's talk about these two first. And if we take too much time, then we will continue with this in a second video. The continuation cells, yeah, we'll continue this in a second video if I take too much time talking about this. All right, with that being said, let's get right into it. So how do we get this bottom entry right here? If you go back to the charts, let's bring up the daily time frame, full screen this bad boy. Okay, so that entry that we talked about was right here. Okay, now again, this is just simply a trade. If you're looking at it from an intraday perspective, this is just an intraday trade. Okay, now before we talk about this, what is the first thing I always do? Now, if you guys watched previous videos when I break down, the first thing you should always do is think about what the current storyline is. So let's just back up completely. Okay, let's go to the monthly. 1 minute. Oh yeah, my keyboard has some problem. I don't know. I searched it on Google. It keeps typing multiple letters. Sometimes certain letters don't type. I have to like bam, you know what I mean? Like really beat that shit up. And then the letters work. I thought it was a driver issue. It was not a driver issue. All my drivers are updated. I thought it was a connection issue. It might be a connection issue. I still haven't ruled that one out. But I'm just going to get a brand new keyboard, plug it in, and see whether it's a PC issue or a keyboard issue, whatever it is, or a socket issue. Anyway, let's come back to this. What is the monthly storyline as of right now? The monthly storyline as of right now has never shifted to becoming bearish. The monthly storyline has previously, a couple months back, we'll take a look at this. It actually did become bullish, and I'll show you guys this in a second. And ever since the monthly time frame became bullish, it never turned bearish after that, which means you can have as many breaks of the monthly as you want. The monthly storyline will still remain bullish, and that doesn't actually matter at all for the following reason. Even though we can say, oh, this can break and this can break and this open close can break, which it hasn't broken yet, by the way, since the month is not over, I don't think. So this open close hasn't broken yet. But let's assume that it did break. We can have all of these monthlies break and the monthly storyline is still going to be bullish, but it doesn't matter for this simple reason. The weekly currently is bearish. We'll talk about why later, but the weekly currently is bearish. And so for the weekly to buy because of the monthly bullish. So we can all agree that the monthly is bullish. We'll talk about why in a second. But just assume that you understand why the monthly is bullish. Okay, so the monthly is bullish. We all agree with that. We all know why. Okay. In order for the monthly to propel the weekly time frame, what do you think the weekly time frame needs to do? something very simple. So let's just pick a resistance, right? The weekly time frame, in order for the weekly time frame to buy in line with the monthly bullish storyline, the weekly time frame needs to do the following things. Let's assume we're picking this level. Okay, let's assume this. Price comes in, the weekly taps. Now what does the weekly need to do? It needs to do the weekly reject weekly, daily bullish breakout. Okay, we can assume now that the weekly is going to be bullish together with the monthly. And we should be very careful about sells from the daily. Taking sells from the weekly still has its reasons. Why? Because we have a monthly bullish storyline, and taking sells from the weekly, well, weekly time frame is an obstacle to the monthly bullish storyline. However, if let's assume this next week, right, comes in here, boom, weekly taps, okay, weekly reject weekly, daily bullish breakout, whatever, or maybe it doesn't break out immediately, breaks out, in the process of later, in the future, then we can say weekly is bullish storyline. It has turned from bearish. Here's where it turned bearish, and it turned bullish right here. And we can trust this area right here to hold price and propel it further. And we will say that, hey, look, the weekly is together with the monthly, and it's going to be pretty damn risky for us to take and hold trades from the daily time frame. Okay, so let's get that out of the way first. That's the first thing. That's what needs to happen if the weekly wants to propel from this area. Let's assume the weekly wants to propel from this area. This is a open close flip. This was once a sell, right? A sell, but price broke it up. So if price comes here and rejects, how can we trust, or how can we say that, yo, I want to trust this area to hold price? Well, weekly needs to do the weekly bullish storylines standard operating procedure, and then we can say, okay, it's going to propel price up. So now let's go back to the first thing. How do I know that the monthly is bullish? When did that happen? Well, over here, the monthly rejected off of absolutely nothing. So we're just going to ignore that. No problem. Nothing interesting over here. But over here, we did have our first reason. Okay. We can have it like this. You can have it like this if you didn't see the first one. So what happened here is really simple. Okay. Whether it was here, this is what am I marking here? This is a open close resistance, correct? This was once a resistance, and you can even see how sell in the middle of the resistance. You can even see how price came and tapped in, right? We talked about this entry as well in a previous breakdown, but over here this resistance gets broken. Okay, now there's been a lot of confusion in the comment section talking about stuff like, okay, it's really good that I'm bringing this up. There's been a lot of confusion in the comment section talking about, Avi, how can this be an SNR flip, so resistance becomes support, when it's already been tested? My friend, has this, okay, my question is very simple, and I don't mean to sound sarcastic, okay, or sarcastic, wherever you're from. I don't mean to sound sarcastic. What does this sell have to do with testing this level as a support? This is a support right now. This is not a resistance. This is not a resistance. Right now, as we looking at the chart, this is now a support. Okay, if we're looking at the charts like this, yes, sure, that's a resistance. So this would be an unfresh resistance since this has already been tapped. So if price were to come back here, we're not going to expect price to reject and sell off. Maybe it sells off for a little bit, just as a little bit of a intermediary rejection or intermediary reaction. But we can't really rely on this to hold price for a sell. Sure, there have been instances where that has happened, but it's rare, and we play with probabilities here, right? Price breaks up. We can expect that to happen because this resistance has already been tapped. But this resistance being tapped has nothing to do with this open close resistance becomes support, RBS they call this, right? It has nothing to do with this being a perfectly fresh support. Now, see how this candle has come and touched this, and then a bullish storyline has started, and I'll show you that in a second. Now, if price were to come back down, boom, 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 to this area, this would be unfresh now. We can't rely upon this to hold price. We can, however, rely upon this support, see? Sell buy candle, we can rely upon this support, but we cannot rely upon this support because why? It's already been tested. Okay, cool. Now, why is this a bullish storyline? Very simple. Monthly candle comes into this monthly over here. If you didn't really see this, you didn't really catch this, no problem. You can always look at this one too, right? It doesn't matter because you would have waited for this monthly to reject, tap and reject, and close. Very important. In order for it to be in order for a rejection to be constituted, it needs to be, or concluded, excuse me, it needs the candle to close. It needs this month to end, the full 30 days or whatever, how many days that month has. Okay, so very simple. Monthly came down, monthly reject monthly, then what do you do after the monthly candle closes? We check the weekly. Does the weekly have a breakout? You can see over here. Okay, there's no breakout over here. Depends on your broker. Some brokers, they show this as a buy-sell. You can even look at the line chart. It shows a little break over here. But if you guys don't use line charts like me, then you would have been a little bit late on this. But that's okay. It's fine. But yeah, pretty much. So over here we had ourselves the monthly reject monthly, and then after the monthly reject monthly happened, boom, we break. Why this one? Very simple, because this was the last buy that caused the sell, which entered into the SNR, which entered into that monthly SNR. So we'll be paying attention to this SNR to break. Very simple. If on your broker it showed this as an SNR, or you guys use the line chart to look at breaks, which is very useful, by the way. I don't use it personally, but it's very useful. If you guys are ever confused about breaks, whether it broke, whether this candle, that candle, don't be confused. Pick up the line chart and take a look at whether this, just draw a line. So just like this. One sec. Pick up a line and just draw it right here. This is where you're going to look for the break, right? And then take a look at the candlestick chart after that. You can see, oh, look, this week right here, Monday 6th of March 2023, we broke it. Okay, so this following candle, you know, this is a weekly bullish breakout, which confirms the monthly bullish storyline. Okay, so yeah, that's that. Okay, so this is where the monthly turned bullish. Now, take a look. There was no fresh monthly resistance. There's nothing for the monthly to play off of, even at the back here, nothing at all. Okay, but what happened was very simple. 3 weeks ago, excuse me, 3 weeks ago, this is last week, this is the week prior, and this is 3 weeks ago. Okay, 3 weeks ago, we had ourselves this resistance, and 2 weeks ago, this was last week, and this was the week before that. Okay, we had that weekly reject weekly. See how this is a resistance again? If you're not used to it, pick up the line chart. Boom, resistance. You're gonna look for that A, right, for a resistance, V for a support. Okay, what I mean is this. See how there's a A, like a sharp A in here. See how there's a V, there's a V, there's an A, there's an A. Okay, and then check back with your candlestick charts to see whether they're fresh. But again, at this point, if you guys are watching my videos all the way until now, you guys should be able to just look at the charts, look at the candlesticks, and go, okay, yeah, I understand that now. Just another quick thing that I want to interject with. If you guys are sending me charts about GBP USD, Euro USD using the strategy, I'm not going to reply to them for the simple fact that I've mentioned multiple times that what I'm teaching you about SNR has to do with the behaviors specific to gold. It has nothing to do with behavior to any other pairs. Okay, very, very simple. All right, so I will simply not entertain that. Okay, moving on. We had ourselves that weekly reject weekly. Weekly reject weekly, then what do we check next? Take a look at the daily. Boom, we have ourselves a daily breakout. Okay, if you think I'm going too quickly, fine. Let me go back one more time. And let's pick up a vertical line right here. Okay, or was it the next one? Yeah, we look at the next one. So everything before that is that previous week. So we take a look over here. We take a look over here. Weekly reject weekly. Take a look at the daily. Any breakout? Yes, this is where the weekly reject weekly happened. Boom, we had ourselves a breakout right here. Sell buy creates a support. Buy sell creates a resistance that breaks the support. So that's going to be your breakout right there. I think that's pretty obvious. You can look at that and just tell that's your daily breakout, which then says that, oh shoot, we are in a weekly bearish storyline. Now, a weekly bearish storyline goes directly against the monthly because that is going to be your obstacle playing out, basically. You'll never know whether it's going to play out 100%. You'll never know how long it's going to play out for. So I'll tell you what I'm thinking of. You know, when price gets into this area, for example, maybe even this area right here, I'm going to pay attention to whether the weekly does a weekly reject weekly, daily bullish breakout, or over here, weekly reject weekly, you know, daily bullish breakout. Because you also have to understand, guys, that down in here, in these areas, right, in these areas right here, both of these areas right here, they are also monthly support. See, like over here, we've just tapped into a monthly support. If you observe, we just tapped into a monthly support. Over here as well, we have ourselves a monthly support down in here. See where I marked it, roughly around that area, right? So we can kind of trust this area, pay attention for it. You know, maybe something interesting is gonna happen. So anyway, let's come back to the topic of this video. So we know that now we're in a weekly bearish storyline. All right. So what we're gonna do is simply play off of the dailies and weeklies. That's it. We're in a weekly bearish storyline. We play off of dailies, and it's even better if there's a daily coinciding with a weekly. It's just that simple. Okay, so what happens is very simple, guys. All I do is I understand that we're in a weekly bearish storyline. Boom, I pick up a line, I draw one there. I can pick up another line and draw another right here. What is this? We have two zones. Well, we actually have four. We have a support that breaks, become resistance, so an SBR. We have ourselves an open close, which is also another form of an SBR. This was once a support that gets broken. And then we have a left shoulder and an apex. Now the apex has already been tested, but we do have an open close here. We have ourselves a perfectly fresh left shoulder. But again, if we're going to keep marking zones, we're not going to go anywhere. So I just picked one because this is the weekly time frame, guys. It's not a M15 or something, which I don't even mess with. Right? So over here we have ourselves the support break become resistance. Excuse me for the cough right there. So in this, all I did was very simple. Was something very simple. Okay? When price came in here, I saw that we had, this was a Friday, okay, so this was when that previous week ended, this was when the Monday started. I saw that we had ourselves this weekly, okay, we have this open close here, and what happened in this open close is very, very interesting, and it's very important. What happened in this open close was that the Friday of the previous week, okay, so what I mean by the previous week is this. See this week right here? This week's Friday, okay, what it did was very simple. It came in and did a daily reject daily. And after this week's Friday did a daily reject daily, guess what happened on the H4? Let me delete this line. You already know we're playing inside the weekly. Guess what happened on the H4? Okay, so this is when it did we can already see over here we have ourselves a H4. So let's go into the H1. I don't know whether if you could enter from this, it'll be fine. Yeah, you'll be fine if you enter from there. Anyway, or if you refined it up here. I didn't refine it from up here. Anyway, so what happened was that we had ourselves a daily reject daily and then a new resistance. Okay, can we all agree with this, guys? Can we all agree that we have ourselves a daily reject daily and see daily reject daily right here? We look at the H4. There's nothing really interesting. That's just a H4 here, but it's super deep. So we know when we have a long wick, we know that they're probably hiding something on the H1. Okay, and to no surprise, we have ourselves the area to enter right there. Okay, now what I wanted to show you was this right here. Now take a look at this, guys. This is something super interesting. Okay, let's go back here. All right, so now you understand why I entered here. So that's actually this other one, this one right here. That's the reason why I entered that. So that's done. Wasn't very organized by me, but anyway, over here what happened was really simple. Actually, we just had ourselves a daily. Now what? Oh, this is beautiful. What? Okay, so now you know my entry for this, right? You already know my entry for this. We're in weekly bearish, blah blah. Now take a look at this. Before we got there, we got here first. Before this, we got here first. Take a look at this, guys. Price sold, and made a daily, correct? Can we all agree that price made a daily support? Correct? Now, guys, here's where your flexibility comes into play. This daily was not made from any daily reject daily. This daily has been tested. This daily right here has been tested. This daily right here has been tested by this and even more over here. Fine, whatever. This is the only other fresh one, but this daily was caused by nothing at all. Okay, now guys, pay attention to this, please. I want you to reset your brain. Price is selling, 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 selling. Why did I take a buy here? Why? We're in a weekly bearish storyline, a daily bearish storyline. Why did I take a buy right here? I'll tell you why. We had ourselves a daily bullish support. However, this daily bullish support, which right now I'm going to draw this. Okay, I'm going to draw a line for this. Okay, or a little square for this. This daily bullish support. Do you know where it came from? There's nothing on the weekly. This weekly had already been tested. Do you know where that daily came from? That daily, which let me show you one more time. This daily right here, that was created after price tapped into this weekly support. It's this monthly support. It's difficult, it's challenging for me to show you that right now because the price is just, last week is closed off the monthly in such a manner. But during that week, anyone who's observed the charts of gold can agree with me here, can concur with me that with the moment the candle came down, guys, the candle is never like this. The candle is just a bit like here. Then it sold and sold and sold and sold. But once it touched this monthly support, which by the way, it's still not yet broken because month isn't over yet. Once it touched this monthly support, then I saw that it made a daily. Okay, so this daily support was made after price just came into contact with the monthly. So that's the first thing. The second thing, which is going to be even more important to you, even more important than this. The second thing is that, guys, we're in a weekly bearish storyline. I'm going to give you guys about 10 seconds. We're in a weekly bearish storyline. What are your counter trades going to come from? Or excuse me, the question should be, we're in a weekly bearish storyline. Can we all agree with this? We are in a weekly bearish storyline. Where, meaning from which time frame, are you likely going to see counter trades coming from? Weekly bearish storyline, counter trades. Think about obstacles. I'm going to take some water real quick. Yes, correct. You're right. You're right. That's 3 liters done for the day. I'm on protein shakes, guys, so I gotta drink more water. And I'm, just gotta drink more water. It's super hot here in Malaysia as well, so on top of that, you gotta drink water. Anyway, yes, guys, we're in a weekly bearish storyline. Your daily time frames are going to be the areas where you can find some counter trades. So, weekly bearish, not monthly bearish, weekly bearish. Okay? We can look at daily for our counter trade. So all I did, something super simple. Saw the daily, went to the H4. Okay. Now I did this on my IC market, so I'm not sure how this looks. But anyway, I went to the H4. Now you guys are wondering, Avi, there's nothing fresh. First of all, on my IC markets, there was something fresh. So if you guys haven't gotten a brokerage account with IC markets, please go ahead and do that. Even if you guys are trading demo, no problem. Go and sign up for a demo account with IC markets, because you're going to be able to see the way the chart prints. And the way IC markets prints the charts, in my personal opinion, it is the most accurate. Me personally, all I rely on, IC markets. Okay, this. I'll spell it out for you guys instead, in case you can't know what I'm talking about. IC markets, bro. This is what I mean. Certain things like just don't work properly. IC markets. That's how you spell it. So get yourself an account with them, in my opinion. I'm not affiliated with them or anything like that. I'm just trying to say that their brokers printing is beautiful, absolutely accurate. Way more accurate than Owanda or Forex.com or Pepperstone, whatever BS. Okay, I don't know all these things. Saxo, something like this. Just get yourself an account with IC markets, and you are going to see the charts the same way I see the charts. Okay, real simple. Even if you're doing a demo, no problem, right? Or you can do something like this. Let's say you're happy with your current broker, whatever your broker may be, no problem. Just create a demo account or a live account with IC markets and use that chart to analyze your trades. Isn't that smart? Isn't that a smart idea, right? So anyway, on IC markets, there was a fresh H4, and then I refined it to the H1. But in this case, all you need to do when you don't see something like this, you already know you're inside the daily, correct? You're inside the daily. Just hit, if you don't see anything on the H4, hit to the H1. Anyway, you have to understand that anyway, you're taking a high risk trade. Regardless, this is inherently a high risk trade for a very simple reason, guys. For the simple reason that I think this doesn't make it. Oh, it does. Yeah, there we go. This was my stop loss right here. There we go. 32 pip stop loss from your entry. That's what I do personally. When I first started off, I can go up to 35. Some trades, some instances, I do 25 pips, although that's a bit rare. Usually it's 30, 32. But yeah, and these are the instances where you can actually go for the last resort entry, where you would have yourself an entry right here. This is known as last resort. Last resort, as I said, you could be completely unfresh. Okay, your entry level could be completely unfresh on the H1, or for example maybe even the H4, but the power comes from the fact that you're entering from inside a daily fresh. You see, so your higher time frames always have to be fresh. But inside a daily, let's say inside a daily you have a daily fresh. Let's assume that you also have a H4 fresh, and on the H1 you have nothing. You have nothing that's fresh. Let's just assume this hypothetical. Then you can take it from the last resort down here, right? The lowest sell basically. Right, that's going to be your last resort. All right, but anyway, yes, so that is what I did. And then of course you have to be aware of something, right? You have to be aware of the fact that if you're entering here, what's the reason you're entering here? The reason I'm entering here is not so I can swing. The reason I'm entering here is not so that I can swing. Guys, you have to understand something. If price wanted to swing from here, this is a daily zone inside a monthly zone, but there's no weekly, so I'd have to wait until price made a weekly bullish support, right? A weekly support, okay? And that's too long to wait. The entire intention of me taking this trade is so I can take an intraday trade, okay? So I took that intraday trade, boom, done. Okay, now you can see there's another fresh up here. Just want to put that out there, right? There's another fresh up here. So anyway, what happened was daily rejected daily, and now I'm going to take a look at the H4 for any breakouts. So I take a look at the H4. Where do you think H4 needs to break out? You see how daily rejected daily here, correct? Can we all agree? Can we all agree? Let's slow down for a second. Can we all agree that we have done a daily reject daily? Yes, we have. We have done indeed a daily reject daily, correct? Now, that was during this day, and I even talked to you guys about how I got this entry. What do I need to see on the H4 time frame for us to say that we have a H4 bullish break? I need to see this guy get broken. Broken meaning body of the candle break. Correct? I need to see body of the candle break. And until and unless I see that, I simply cannot say that we have a daily bullish storyline. And I've expected that. Because if price truly wanted to swing from here, we would need the monthly and the weekly both to have supports. Right now, all we have is a daily support and a monthly support, fair enough, but we've never had a weekly support being created. Okay? So that is the little bit of the understanding from that. Okay? Now, as you can see over here, as I said, daily reject daily. H4 does not break anything, and I don't know, it hasn't broken anything. The point is that if it hasn't broken anything, because we don't know, maybe in the future it breaks this, right? But the fact that it hasn't broken anything, we can't say it's a daily bullish storyline. Now, even if it was a daily bullish storyline, let us not forget the fact, which is that we have ourselves a weekly bearish storyline. And as long as we have a weekly bearish storyline, and we have a daily resistance, a daily fresh resistance, we need to pay attention to this daily fresh resistance. Why? Because this daily fresh resistance is very powerful for the reason that we are in a weekly bearish storyline. Okay, correct? Now, that's one thing. Second thing, now, I'm not sure whether this broker is going to translate the same accurate message as IC Markets has, but remember we had this weekly resistance, right? Now, when did price actually tap this? This was Monday 22, Monday 24, 23, 22. Okay, very easy. So this is when the last week started here. It did not start here. This candle rejection, can you see this wick? This wick did not touch that weekly resistance that I'm going to show you guys again right now. It did not touch this. Why? Because that Friday was still a part of this weekly candle. And if that Friday is still a part of this weekly candle, that means that this weekly hasn't closed as a break yet. So we wouldn't know whether this weekly was going to close as a break. But then once the Friday is over and the week ends, we can say, oh, weekly has broken. Now it's a fresh zone. And the next week, remember, every week has an open, a low. Every week has an open and every week has a high and a low. Every daily has a high and a low. Your job as an SNR trader is to find out where price, so let's assume now we're dealing with the weekly, right? You want to figure out where price is most likely going to create the weekly high and where price is most likely going to create the weekly low. This is what's going on in my mind. Every week whenever we start, I'm thinking, where is price most likely going to make the weekly high and most likely going to make the weekly low? I don't know for sure whether he's going to do it. Like this following week, price could make a weekly high here. Price could make a weekly high over here. Price could go all the way up, make a weekly high over here. Price could come up, make a weekly high here, boom, drop down, make a weekly low over here. Maybe that can happen. These are all the possibilities. So I already know from this, what do I know? I know we have this zone, we have this zone, we have this zone. Just pay attention to these three and I think we should be all right. We should be just okay. All right. So anyway, we had ourselves a weekly fresh resistance. Now we head into the daily. Correct? Again, this touch is not a touch of the weekly. This is a part of the past 2 weeks. This is when the previous week starts. Correct? Correct. Okay. As you can see, we missed the weekly, right? Just scroll this. Okay. We have ourselves the weekly and price did not touch the weekly yet. So in this candle, this was Monday, last week Monday, this was Tuesday, we never touched this weekly. This weekly is perfectly fresh. And then Wednesday she comes up into the weekly and multi-time frame. Weekly and also this is not very important, but it's there as well. So keep this with you. It's not very important. It's not as important as the fact that we have touched into the weekly, but it's also important. We have this daily that's perfectly fresh as well. Just keep that at the back of your head. Okay? Now, even without this weekly, let's assume you just went for the daily alone, which you shouldn't have. If you just went for the weekly, for the daily alone, and you completely ignored the fact that there was a weekly above, you're blindsiding yourself. You're relying more on luck now. We cannot have this. We cannot have this, okay? Let's go to the H4 and let's take a look. So inside, this is the daily. Inside this daily, we have ourselves a H4 fresh, right? Inside this H4 fresh, let me make that a bit bigger. Bring her down. Inside this H4 fresh, we have ourselves a H1, right? This is not the last resort. The last resort will be up here. But anyway, we have ourselves this H1. And then, of course, we have ourselves another fresh H1 at the top. Avi, which one do I trade off of? Do I trade off of this one? Do I trade off of this one? Well, you can, first of all, you can have 2 entries. Absolutely, you can, right? Another thing is that you wait for the last resort. That's your other option. Because you never know which one exactly price is gonna for sure play off of. You will never know 100% where exactly price will play off of. And of course, don't forget, if you want, you can add yourself some trend line knowledge and things like this, right there. Just like that, you can add yourself some trend lines, something like this, just to help yourself, just to add a bit more confidence. You will never know exactly which one. Now for me, I went straight for the top, and can you guess why? I went straight for the top one. This is a daily, guys. Remember, this line right here, take a look at this line, is a daily. Fact. Go for that right there. This is a daily. This black line is a weekly. Guys, guess what? This weekly is in the same area of this H1. Can we all agree with this? Yeah, sure, we have ourselves some more refinements up here, but we never know which one. We could even say, oh, up here, and then price just goes for a deep retracement and closes with a wick. We can't keep going up and up and up, right, my friends? So what I did was very simple. We had ourselves a weekly. Okay? Remember what I told you guys before. When you have a weekly, and below that you have yourself a daily, and they're relatively close. So it's not like the daily is down here. No, the daily is pretty damn close. The daily is like right here. And above it, like maybe 80 to 100 pips above the daily, we have ourselves a weekly, right? Let's say 50 pips above the daily, we have ourselves a weekly. Bro, I will most likely take the weekly over the daily, man. It's not a joke. You know, you're kind of like taking a bit of a risk there if you take the daily, because it's right above it. It's right above it. And during this moment as well, we had news, if I'm not wrong. I may be wrong about this, correct me if I am, but I think we had some news during this time. So again, this daily, as beautiful as it is, there is a weekly right above it with a H1. And this H1, guys, actually holds a lot of significance, because this H1 was a product of, now, oh my, this is a beauty. This is way more advanced than I need to be teaching you guys right now, but I'm going to share it anyway. This H1, the reason why it holds a lot more weight as well is because this H1 was a product of this daily rejecting this daily. Can you see this open close? And this daily reject the open close, daily reject daily. And after that, you know, we had this little H4 over here sort of in a limbo, and then we had ourselves the H1 above. Remember, we talked about that earlier on in this video. Okay, so that also adds a lot of importance and significance to this H1 level. And of course, besides that, this is like H1 MTF weekly. So I mean, that pretty much is all that needs to be said. Take that. So guys, I hope this video was pretty good for y'all. We've talked about both the, well, we actually talked about the continuation sells first, but anyway, we've talked about the buys. Oh yes, we forgot about this buy as well. We'll talk about that. Don't you worry about that, my friends. We'll talk about this buy too. And the continuation sells. Okay, we've talked about that. So we've talked about the continuation sells, why we're continuing. Remember, what's so significant about the weekly? Because we're in a weekly bearish storyline. And if we have ourselves a daily together with a weekly, we're going to take that. If we have a daily below a weekly, a couple pips below the weekly, we'll take the weekly over that daily and refine that to a H4, H1. If there's no H4, go for the H1, you know. Okay, and then we talked about this one, which actually happened before the previous photo that I showed you. This was just purely a daily trade, an intraday trade, but with the context of the fact that we also tapped into the monthly support. Okay, so now let's talk about this support over here. Let's take a look at how long we are in. 33 minutes, not too bad. Okay, so right here, guys, what did we talk about right here? Why here? Very simple, very, very simple. Let's close that. Let's close this. Okay, draw a line right here, and this was the other entry right there. Okay, again, this broker is different from what I'm used to, so I'm gonna see if I can get something closer to IC markets. Yeah, this is way closer to IC markets. Okay, so this is what I saw in IC markets, guys. Don't get too confused. I'm just showing you what I saw in IC markets broker. Daily, correct? Now, daily we had an entry there. Remember, guys, we had that entry, right? Continuation sells were super easy to understand, but we had that entry right here. Again, forget the bottom one. Same way you forgot about the top one. We had this entry right here. You guys understand why. There's a daily support inside a monthly. Daily support acts as a obstacle, acts as an obstacle, excuse me, to the weekly bearish, correct? So that's why we took the daily. Also, it was produced once price touched the monthly, adds a little bit of context to the trade. And then what happened was we had ourselves a daily reject daily. Notice how this blue candle over here, daily rejected daily, correct? Daily rejected daily. And after daily rejected daily, there we go. This is what I saw. So on my IC markets, we actually did have a H4 bullish breakout. Can you observe this? Buy, sell. We actually did have a H4 bullish breakout. Okay, so that's that. Now, even without this H4 bullish breakout, can you attempt a buy from this sell buy candle? Can you attempt from? Absolutely. Why? Okay, now you guys are wondering, wait, Avi, so that means that if I had an Oanda broker, right, I would have completely missed out on the second opportunity. Nope. But Avi, on my Oanda broker, it didn't show the breakout here. Why do you need this breakout for you to say that you're going to enter from the daily? Let me ask you a question. Hold on. You guys be wondering, but we need a confirmation storyline, right? Hold on. Let me ask you a question. Did you need a breakout for you to enter your touch trade from this daily? No, you simply needed the reason that a daily is a weekly's obstacle, and you needed the context that this daily was produced from a monthly, and that was simply the reason why you entered from this daily. Why can't your reason for entering from this daily purely be a touch trade because it's an obstacle to the weekly? That could be it, right? That could very well be it. And price is also coming from the monthly. That could be it as well. So with or without this H4 bullish break, don't let the charts nerf your mind. With or without this H4 bullish break, you would have absolutely been able to enter this trade. Maybe, I will argue, I will accept the argument that you may not have been able to enter this trade very convincingly, but you definitely still had a perfectly valid trade to enter from. That's my point. Okay, so anyway, let's talk about how I entered this trade. So all I did was that I saw very obviously that we had a sell and a buy candle, right? We had ourselves that daily reject daily, and yes, sure, on my broker we had a daily reject daily, and we also had ourselves that H4 bullish break. Correct? We had ourselves the H4 bullish break. Now after that, I noticed that hey, we haven't actually entered into that weekly. Remember, we had ourselves the weekly line. I'm not going to draw it again, but remember we had that weekly line, correct? Now in this daily, all I did was I drew my little line, right? And price was still making this candle, right? This is the open of the candle, so price was just playing about over here. And I took a look at the H4 and I saw this is the daily. Okay, and in this daily, guess what? It was just such an easy trade for me to understand. We had ourselves the left shoulder, we have an open close below, but we had ourselves this left shoulder and we had this open close right here. So remember, I can only pick two zones at a time. Had ourselves this open close and we had this left shoulder. I went to the H1, okay, and well, it's already just sitting perfectly on this H1 left shoulder as well. And that is simply how you would have entered the trade. This is it. Why? What is this? What have I done? What is the magic here? What have I done here? Guys, it's really simple. This is a daily support. I have refined the daily support into a H4 left shoulder. I have then refined the H4 left shoulder into the H1 left shoulder, and it just so coincidentally happened to be right there anyway, correct? And then I took the trade. Now over here, as you can see, it looks unfresh. If this is unfresh on your broker, that's fine. You can just go to the open close below. But remember what I said, guys. This is a H1. So let's assume that this H1 is unfresh, right? Avi, this is unfresh. Okay, no problem. This H1 though is inside, listen, this H1 is inside a perfectly fresh H4. Has this H4 left shoulder ever been tapped? No. If you say this is a tap, I'm actually going to slap you, bro. This is a resistance when here this got tapped and then it got broken. See this big candle? It broke this. I'll slap you, bro. Through the screen, I'll do it. Okay, now this is fresh as a support. This was once a resistance. See, sell, buy, support breaks. This is now a resistance. Price come, resists a little bit, but it breaks this resistance. If a resistance gets broken, it becomes a support in the future. In this case, it's a left shoulder. Boom, price comes in. So we have ourselves a daily fresh. We have ourselves a H4 fresh. But then you go to the H1 fresh and you're whining about how it's unfresh. Come on, right? We can still, this is still a perfectly valid trade. The same way we could take this trade. Right? Oh, you know, let's say this H1 is unfresh. Let's say the H4 is unfresh, but it's still within a daily. We can take a last resort. Okay? And so you can take the trade just like this. And I don't know if you could pull a trend line maybe like this. Maybe you could pull a trend line. I don't think it actually meets. Just looking at the charts itself, yeah, it doesn't actually meet. But regardless, you could have taken this trade. This is a perfectly valid trade. And whether or not you took the trade, I definitely took the trade, as you can see. Okay? And all I did was hold it for that intraday. hold it for the intraday, guys. And you can see how when price bought from here, right? When price bought from here, we just bought straight into the weekly. Again, I have to go and guys, it makes a lot more sense for you to just pick up the freaking IC markets. Seriously, pick up the IC markets broker and you'll be on your way, bro. Anyway, you can see how price taps right into that. Now about the whole broker thing, this is something that we cannot work past. All we can do is we can work with it. What I like to do is I get IC markets and I cross-check IC markets with Oanda, and I do this every single time I trade. It doesn't take that much effort. It takes 2 extra minutes of your time max. That's it, guys. You have to understand something. I analyze charts fully, so I fully analyze charts in a matter of 3 to 5 minutes. 5 minutes is really talking about a stretch here. I analyze charts in 3 minutes, and I analyze charts on my mobile phone. This is not a joke. This is not me trying to make some joke up. I analyze my charts on my mobile phone. I could be in the train. I could be driving in my car. I could be taking a poop. Bro, I'll be analyzing the charts on my phone, and I'll be taking trades on my phone. And I simply cross-check it with the TradingView app. Is it ideal? No, it's not ideal. Does it work for everyone? No, it doesn't work for everyone. Does it work for me? Yes, it works for me, and that's all I care about. Okay? So I hope you guys understood this. I hope you guys took this into account. And you know, we're in a weekly bearish. This one, I didn't really take this. We have an open close, right? I didn't take this trade at all. But anyway, we had that. We had this and that. You know, I didn't take this trade. Wasn't clean to me, and I think it's probably going to get run out soon. But like, it's probably going to get blasted up soon, I'm saying. I don't know from here or not, but it looks like it's going to get blasted up. So yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. See you guys in the next video, man. I hope this helped you guys out. And yeah, peace. Have a wonderful week, man.